what I'm going to do here is go over a topic about using the cloud to your advantage in your own medical billing business. Obviously, there are different medical billing platforms that you can use out there, and some are server-based. Obviously, there are some that are cloud-based. We're going to show you the difference between the two, the easiness of how to use a cloud-based, and obviously the advantages of having a cloud-based type system for you to kind of go through. So, all right, so let me tell you about American Business Systems. So for those that have been looking, it's obviously one of the things you want to be able to do is look at a business that's been around for more than 6 months, at least, or at least they've been in the business for any length of time. So, and I say that because this is going to help you. So American Business Systems has been around for the last 26 years. It's got its longevity. It's been through, gosh, whatever you can imagine, through different economic times. Obviously, we're going through somewhat of an economic time right now. I mean, we're all kind of maybe feeling the pinch a little bit, but as you'll learn here in medical billing, or at least in the medical world here, things are actually growing and accelerating in this field. So now's a good time to even be looking into, as you're starting to look for a business, maybe it's a great time to start looking in the medical field. Now, with that said, you may just get started. Let's say that you say, after this webinar today, you think, man, this is something good. I think I'd like to get started now. But how are you going to have any credibility? Well, the credibility will actually come from the longevity that's been around for ABS for the last 26 years. Because inside of ABS, there's another organization called MIRMA. That's the Medical, MIRMA. It's the Medical Revenue American Association of America. I get it right there. Anyway, it is an organization that's been around as well, and it helps support you. And I'll show you some of the ways that MIRMA does actually help support you. So again, you can say that I'm now with a company that's been around for 26 years that has been doing medical billing and medical revenue cycle management for thousands of doctors. We've got offices literally coast to coast, and we're just part of a big association. But again, it's been around for 26 years. Again, for those that have never met me, again, I'm just introducing myself to you. My name is Eric Ogea. I've been with ABS, with Patrick and the rest of the crew here for a little over 12 years. So got a little bit of longevity myself here with ABS. And so feel free to ask me any questions. I think I can pretty much handle just about any question that comes in. Obviously, if it's a question that I think is maybe more geared towards you, the person that you're working with here at ABS, I'll certainly direct you towards them, and so to help answer some questions, especially if you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay for it, or you know, you're trying to put your money together. Obviously, those are questions I'll probably redirect back over to the individual, the coach that you're working here, your business development rep that you're working with here at American Business Systems. All right, so the other thing over in the control panel, you're going to find a printout of today's slide deck. So I've already put that out there, so if you want to go grab that, you can go ahead and download it. It's in a PDF format, so you can kind of watch it and follow it online, or at least on your computer. Or if you want to, go ahead and print it out. You can have it next to you, take some notes on it, and hopefully that'll help you out. So again, underneath the handouts, right over there is the PDF for today. And over that last 26 years, folks, many of these people I know. I mean, I've worked with all of these folks here over the last 12 years. All of them are still in business in medical billing. And so some are fairly new. Some have been doing it for quite some time, from all walks of life, from all nationalities. So, you know, this is a great opportunity for anybody, whether you have a college degree or you don't have a college degree. It doesn't really matter, because we're going to teach you and guide you and certify you in the areas that you need certifications in, and help you get some things going as you get started here. Because it's all built around, as we're going to be talking about today, a cloud-based type of billing service. Now, you said you've never been in medical billing. The system itself actually helps you to do the billing. So if you got questions about coding, medical codes, how are you going to get the medical codes, we can certainly talk about that today on today's webinar. Now, I want to share with you, as we kind of get started here, now we're going to enter into this area of the slide deck that we're going to look at some recent news articles that have come out. And I'm going to start off, first of all, with this one. So this one's just a couple of days ago. Today is August the 12th, so this just about 9 days ago. This actually came out, and it says President Donald J. Trump is expanding access to telehealth services and ensuring continued access to healthcare for rural Americans. Now, folks, in this title, for me, this is a huge opportunity, especially what we're doing here in medical billing. There's a couple of things in here that I want to draw your attention to. Number one, the access to telehealth. If you've been keeping up with anything, you probably by this time have maybe had a visit via telehealth, and you want to make sure that your billing is connected to a telehealth platform. Now, here at ABS, we actually have two. We have one that's built inside of iClaim, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit, and we also have one that's separate. So if you run across a doctor right now that is billing and maybe doing something on a completely different platform, but they really don't have a great telehealth service, because a lot of them are using Zoom, a lot of them are using still FaceTime or Facebook Messenger. Those are okay, but it's not HIPAA compliant. And eventually this emergency declaration is going to run out. Either way, you still need to make sure that things are HIPAA compliant. Even though that some of this HIPAA compliance has been relaxed, you still need to make sure that that is HIPAA compliant. So both of our telehealth services that we have are extremely HIPAA compliant. Like I said, one's actually built into the iClaim EMRx platform. We also have another one that's a standalone. Now, I'll talk a little bit about both advantages and disadvantages of having one built in and then one as a standalone, because they both have their advantages and disadvantages. And I'm going to share with you how you can actually utilize telehealth to actually market to your business. And a lot of doctors are going to say, oh, you got a telehealth program going on, and that's okay. But we're also expanding from telehealth into what's called virtual care. Now, that ties into another part of the article of what you're seeing right here, and that is into rural America. Rural Americans. Folks, if you don't know this, the healthcare industry has been trying for years how to reach out to the rural areas of the United States. These are places that people are living outside the big cities. And so what's happening now is with telehealth and now with virtual care, this is actually tapping into a new market, completely new market for doctors. Now, what does that mean for the doctors? Let's first talk about what it means for the doctors. What it means for the doctors is that they get to see more patients, which means that there's more billing that goes along with that. The advantage for you in getting started in medical billing is that you can actually offer this to doctors and show them how they can start reaching out to rural America, actually make more cash money for them and get a better cash flow, and actually provide them not only the telehealth service, but then now you can start marketing your medical billing part of it. So this is a very, very exciting news that's come out, because now we can say telehealth is actually here to stay. So you can see this on this next slide here, that it says expanded access to Medicare through telehealth is essential to fighting the virus. So we know that this thing's going to be around this for quite some time. We don't know whether we're going to have vaccines to take care of it, or people are just going to starting to become a little bit more immune to it, just like with any other type of viruses. We're not here to debate whether we're in for viruses or not. We're just talking about, vaccines or not, or anything else that goes along with that. We're just trying to deal with reality and what's going on in healthcare. So if you keep reading down, you can see here expanding telehealth services. President Donald J. Trump is unleashing America's innovation to provide millions of citizens with healthcare services during a global pandemic. And you go all the way down to the last, or let's look at the second bullet here. Through this order, the president is also taking action to extend the availability of certain telehealth services after the current public health emergency ends. So what does that tell you? That there is a brand new service that is going to continue to keep growing. There's going to be a complete need for this. It's a great way as a door opener and we'll explain a little bit of that to you. And then that last bullet there says these telehealth expansions build on the work the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services has done during the public health emergency to more than double allowable telehealth services, greatly expanding access to high quality care. All right, so again, think about what this is telling you. All right, so we've got this pandemic that happened. We've got some new services that are coming on. ABS has already been ahead of the curve on that. Plus, it's going to stick around, and it's actually doubling the allowable telehealth services, which means the doctors are actually going to get paid for this, continue to keep getting paid for this, because prior to the pandemic that's actually happening, the reimbursements for telehealth services were not as good and not as up to par as whenever patients were coming to see the doctor into the clinics. Well, now it's balanced out. So whether a doctor is seeing a patient in-house or they're seeing a patient via telehealth or outside of their home, those reimbursements are becoming the same. Now, let me share one other thing with you that's really exciting, again, is that even the chief medical director for the CMS, which is Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services, says this is a tremendous boon for the U.S., which means it's boosting healthcare across the United States. So this is so much bigger than what we've even expected. So you can see here, order calls of HHS to empower rural hospitals to transform healthcare in their communities on a broader scale. Folks, if you're looking to get into a business, this is the kind of information that you really want to understand. Now, so far through this webinar, I haven't talked to you anything about really the services with ABS. What I'm trying to share with you here is the importance of what's happening in the medical world and the importance of how we can actually help you kick your business off in the whole medical science world. Almost healthcare science world is where ABS is transforming to. It's going from just billing to really healthcare science in a lot of different areas here. So telehealth is helping that. Unfortunately, the pandemic that what we've had has created a disturbance in healthcare, but also on the other side, it's created some brand new opportunities. So a lot of great things here, and I'll share a couple other things here. Look at this. This just came out just a day ago. 6 reasons why the telehealth boom is here to stay, according to the CEO of $16 billion Teladoc. Okay, so that's a lot of cash that's flowing. And somebody's making money at this whole thing of telehealth. And telehealth's rise has been swift, but again, investors worry people will still prefer to get care in person after the pandemic fades. Well, let me tell you what's going to happen here. The important part of this is opening up some new areas of opportunities for doctors, and it's called virtual care. Now, this is where ABS, again, is ahead of the curve. And so not only are we doing medical billing, we've got this whole telehealth platform now, and we've got embedded in that what's coming next is what's called remote patient monitoring, chronic care management. There's a lot of things going on with annual well visits that are happening now via telehealth. There is a boatload of new services that are happening. So now you can actually go market to a doctor and say, ask this question: do you now have a virtual care strategy? A virtual care strategy. That's the new buzzwords that are happening right now. Do you have a virtual care strategy? If you don't have a virtual care strategy, you're already starting to get behind the curve. Now, I can't think of any other business like American Business System that's staying up on top of the news like this and then providing our licensees with these types of services. I know that we've got a competitor out there. They've got a fairly decent platform. I'm not here to kick them to the curb. But what I'm telling you is that what we're being able to do through our suite of services, we're able to put these things together pretty quickly. We've established ourselves very closely with some very important groups of people to help our licensees expand their business and actually do some online marketing, because again, these are the things that doctors are looking for. They're looking for virtual care strategies. How can I monitor my patients whenever I can't see them there all the time? How am I going to do that? We have those solutions. One more, and then we're going to get into some of the meat of the webinar. Medical billing services market to witness huge growth by 2025. Dr. Chrono, which is another billing type of service, but you know that's for Care Cloud and Advance MD. These are well-known names that you might already know out there. So, folks, this was just posted August the 11th. So, again, that's why we put this in print for you. You can go out there. You can see all of this information out there. Before I get started, feel free again. We're about 20 minutes into the webinar so far. If you've got any questions, any comments that you want to ask about anything that I've shared with you so far, feel free to do that. But again, we wanted to give you just some what we call feet on the ground, boots on the ground information of what's out there, what's really happening now, current events, what's happening in the field, and then how we apply that to some of the things that we're doing here at American Business Systems. So, all right, so if there's no questions about what we've discussed so far, and again, feel free to ask me any questions during the webinar, and we'll do what we can to help answer some of those questions. So today we're going to talk about using the cloud to your advantage in owning your own medical billing business. Some of you already know what the cloud is. We're operating in it right now. We're doing virtual meetings right now through GoToWebinar. We are having Zoom meetings. We are, all of this is in the cloud. You're probably using Dropbox. That's a cloud service or some type of online storage service, whether it's with Apple or with Microsoft or with Dropbox or Box or whatever else is out there. You're probably already using some type of cloud service. What that is called in the technical world is software as a service. SaaS, SaaS. So software as a service for some of you that want to know some of the technical terms there. And you're probably already using it with banking. You're starting to see a lot of retail stores using a lot of cloud services where you can order your stuff. Amazon's one of them. You can don't even have to go anywhere. Everything's virtual now. You can you can order your groceries online through apps and do all of this stuff. This is all done in the cloud. Why? Because it's quicker. More people are utilizing their smartphones, their computers to just go, look, I need to go buy this, or I need to get this particular service. And what are you doing? You're using the internet, you're using the cloud. And these companies that are out there, guess what they're using? They're storing all of their information up to the clouds. And so we've been doing that for years ahead, again, of the game. So the difference, what we're talking about here is information that's stored not in an office, not on a particular computer that's just residing like in a doctor's office. We're actually utilizing large server-based places, remote places where all that information sits, and tapping in it through the internet. And that way, you don't have to load the software on your computer. You just go to the software, you process whatever you might be processing, like banking. You don't have to really download anything to your computer to do your banking. You're using the bank software to do all of your transactions. So that's the same thing that we're doing here in the medical business world. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Ours is 100% fully cloud-based system. So you can see everything that we're seeing here on the screen is 100% cloud-based, which means that you don't have to have a certain computer to run this. So you can use an Apple machine. You can use a Google Chrome type of, or the Chromebooks. You can utilize a Microsoft type of service, hardware service. The hardware doesn't matter anymore. If you think about it in terminologies of how the geeks talk about this, it's software or hardware agnostic. It doesn't matter because what you're doing is going through a browser, sort of like Safari or Google, Firefox or Google Chrome. Those are just your main places to go to do your searches or whatever else you want to do. It's just called the browser. And so what you were going to do is go to that browser and you would type in this case, iClaim, and be able to process and dive right into that. Y'all, excuse me, I'll turn that off there. You go right into the software itself and then process the medical claims. Same thing with the doctor whenever they're using their EMR. Ours is a web-based EMR. You see it right down in the corner. You can use an iPad. You can actually use the iPhone with it. Or they can use a desktop if they so choose to do that. So it's, again, the great thing about this is you don't have to keep up with software updates or code updates or anything like that. It's going to be automatically updated for you at any time. So you don't have to be carrying around CDs or anything else like that. So obviously, some of you maybe have been into some of these large server placed places where, I mean, you got to have thumbprints and handprints and all these different places where all these major servers are. And so instead of having an individual server in like a doctor's office, which a lot of doctor's offices still have, and I'm telling you, a lot of doctor's offices are finding it, or they're struggling with this right now, because guess what's happening is that they can't even get to their offices, or their staff couldn't get into their offices. So again, you've got a lot of different things here that is always pushing the envelope to getting more into the cloud, more into the cloud, more into the cloud. And we're going to talk about something very important about being in the cloud here in a moment. Because again, with old Windows-based type technology, normally these types of these services have to have a local server to put this information on. But then at that point, let's talk about some of the pros. Let's talk about the pros about it. Number one, it's right there. Your information about your patients, all of your scheduling, it's all on a computer that you can go, without the internet, I can go boom, right, and go right to it. That's a pro. That's a good thing that you can be able to do. However, what happens if you don't have electricity and you have to go somewhere else? Now, like in the case of a flood or, a pandemic, you can't get to the office, then everything, again, is residing on that one server. And unless you've got some connectivity to it, you're kind of, you're high and dry. You can't even get to it. So you need to have accessibility to that information. Right now, that information is staying just in one location. And again, that can be good. You feel like you can secure it pretty well. But again, with Windows-based type of information or platforms like this, they're always prone to, guess what? Viruses. All right. So what happens if you get a virus or these ransomwares that are on there, and then it locks the entire system down? Now you got another problem to have to handle. And because of that, if there's any malware or any HIPAA issues that go along with, or the ransomware that goes into that, guess what happens? Now you're violating HIPAA rules. Now, since some of you are just getting started into this, you may not know all the HIPAA rules, but I can tell you this, that if there's a HIPAA violation and it has more than 50 people that have been affected by that HIPAA violation, immediately that doctor's office has to alert the public news. So the public has to know that something's been violated out there. That's a HIPAA rule from the OIG's office, HHS, and the OCR, which is the Office of Civil Rights. They have to know about this to get that news out there that there's been some type of violation. Now imagine, we're talking small here, small numbers here, if that happens. This can happen, obviously, with this type of technology. The server-based softwares, again, you have to keep up with updates, downloads, medical codes, patient data storage, and again, HIPAA violations that are happening with this information. I don't know about you, but the computer that I'm looking at right now, not the one on the screen, but the one I'm actually having a conversation with you on, there is no CD drives or DVD drives anymore on that. Again, all the software that I get for my computers now, I download those, whether it's Microsoft Word, whether it's Adobe, whether it is, again, our software that we're using, those softwares are downloaded now to my computer. But again, the difference between software that I actually download to my computer like Microsoft Word are just still not downloadable. It's still out there in the cloud, which means that you can look at it from anywhere. Now, one of the other disadvantages that we'll talk about just real quickly is what's called a server-based multiple sign-on. I'm sure all of you have had this issue before, where you've got yourself and you need to log in to each of your pieces of software just finally to get to the web app, to that particular piece of software. And that's what's happening with a competitor of ours. You know, you've got to log into, there's not what's called a single sign-on to get to your software. You have to log in multiple areas. Now, again, you may think saying, look, you're getting a little petty here. But after a while, keeping up with all your passwords, keeping up with everything, I don't know about you, but I have the world's worst time of trying to keep up with all the passwords and everything else that I've got to remember passwords for. And I even have a password software to help keep up with all of that. You don't want that kind of issues, especially when you're dealing with patient information as we're going through. And again, with all of these server-based pieces of software, you're having to dial in or sign on in multiple locations, whether it's the practice management side or the billing part of it, and then maybe even the EHR part of it. These are all what's called multiple sign-ons. They're gonna rotate their sign-ons. They're gonna rotate when you need to change passwords and all that. And again, that's just another level that you have to keep up with. And if you can keep up with that pretty well and you like that kind of service, then obviously it may work for you. What we find it much easier is you have one sign-on. You have what's called a single sign-on that you use. You have a user ID. This is, you can see iClaim and EMRX. You have a user ID that you push in there. You put in your password, you log in, and now you're into the entirety of the software. So you don't have to go sign back in if you're going to go into the practice management side. You don't have to re-sign back in to get into the EMRX side. You don't have to log in directly through another browser to get to the clearinghouse. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Once you've signed on into iClaim and EMRX, you've got what's called a single sign-on, which is incredible. And it just makes our lives so much easier, as you can imagine. So when you're looking for speed and what you're needing to be able to do, obviously a single sign-on type of platform is what you want to be a part of. I mean, and again, including the telehealth side of everything that we're doing here. Now, hold on one second. Without my co-host today, I'm having to keep going here and talking. So usually when Patrick's on here, we both, whenever the other person's talking, it gives us an opportunity to take a quick sip of water here. So I had to get a quick sip of water there. So thank you for letting me do that. All right, so again, we're at the bottom of the hour. We got about 28 more minutes to go. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask those questions, and I'll be very happy to see about help answering any questions. But so far, either you've all disappeared or there's no questions. Maybe I'm helping answer, and maybe I'm just giving new information to you that you just don't know anything about. You may not know what to ask. Either way, it's really okay. So now, again, with a single sign-on, it gets you into the entire portal of what you need to get to. So imagine that, again, let's role play this whole pandemic again, and you're on this type of platform, iClaim, EMRX. The doctors can't get into the office, remember, because that's where the server would be. But if they're on this service, they can get onto it anywhere. So the doctor can be at their home, their nurses could be at their home. They're able to log in. They're still able to change schedules, convert people from coming into the office to now an e-visit, all with a single sign-on. Once it's time for the doctor to actually see the patient, they're just going to log into EMRX. From there, they can launch our telehealth platform that's already built inside of EMRX, so they don't have to log out of that one, and they keep everything there. Once the doctor sees the patient and does their diagnosis, whatever they need to do, order their prescriptions, everything is right here. As soon as the doctor's through with that, then that information goes right back over to the billing side for you as the medical billing company, again, to process the claim. So if you talk about ease of doing business, this is the way that it's the ease of doing business. So you want a single sign-on. So when we're talking about server-based, again, we talked about multiple sign-ons. Again, you'd have to log into your practice management system or your billing system. Then you would have to log into your third-party clearinghouse to be able to match all of this together. Once you've done and be able to do that, now from there, the clearinghouse has all of the linked in parts of it to get to the insurance companies, as you can see here. So you can see going from the practice management, you going into the clearinghouse, and then the clearinghouse would then push out those claims out to the insurance companies. So this is interesting for you to understand, because what we're going to show you here is that our system doesn't have an out third-party clearinghouse. We are the clearinghouse, again, creating simplicity, creating this simple sign-on, single sign-on to the whole process, to where from this point you're going directly to the insurance companies from there. All right, so we did finally get a question to come in from Saeed, is asking, do I need a license to do this? Not necessarily a license. Now, what you're going to have is probably some type of business license or some type of corporation that you're going to want to operate under, but not necessarily a governmental license that you would have to do for medical billing. There are certain certifications out there that you can go out and get. There's a medical billing certification. There's actually some medical billing degrees that you can get. But again, a lot of that is if you are all just doing medical billing and you're trying to get a job for a doctor. Remember, you are above that. You're creating a medical billing or medical revenue cycle company, which means that yes, you can do some of the medical billing, but then you can also hire some of those people that have maybe gone to school, and you can do that as well. But a lot of times, a lot of our licensees never even hire anybody, because our software is so easy to be able to use. Now, what we do certify you as a certified medical revenue manager, which is obviously from MERMA, Medical Revenue Management Association of America. That's a certification that we give you, and you can put that on your business card as a certified revenue manager, or a CRM, CRM, certified certified revenue manager, if I was getting that correctly, on your card. So you can do that, and people understand what that is. All right, moving on. Again, you can see this single sign-on. So you got the doctor, they're signed on to EMRX. That gets you signed on into iClaim, which is right there. And you can see embedded into the iClaim platform is the clearinghouse. Now, again, some of you, I may be talking Greek to. You may not know, what in the world is a clearinghouse? I'm going to explain that to you here in just a moment. But what I want, before I do that, I want to just set up the simplicity, again, how everything is working. So imagine the doctor is, again, seeing the patient, whether in the office or via a telehealth visit. They can put in all of their information through EMRX. Once the doctor gets through seeing the patient right there, then they're going to hit a button, and then all that information literally goes into the iClaim area, which is going to be the patient's name, patient's date of birth, the date that they're seeing, which is called the date of service. All of that's going to be in there, along with all the codes. So the doctor, when they're seeing their patients over here on EMRX, you see it right over here on the side there, then the doctor is going to put in, well, I'm seeing this patient for a cough, and that's going to be whatever the diagnosis code for that. Maybe high blood pressure, maybe whatever else is wrong with that patient. That is what's called a diagnosis code. And then what the doctor did for the patient is what's called the procedure code. So then the doctor's going to put the procedure code in EMRX as well. All of that information, once again, that doctor gets through with seeing that patient, that actually gets dumped in over into the iClaim platform for you to do the billing. So whenever it's time to do the billing, you go right over there where it says billing, you click on that, and you'll see all of the claims that are ready to be billed from that doctor using the iClaim, the EMRX platform. Once you're in there, you simply check everything off and make sure that it's everything's in its right spot. You're actually going to run some of the internal software there to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. And then you're going to click a button, and then it's going to go directly to, guess where? the insurance companies and Medicare, whatever it might be. So imagine you, instead of what we saw over here on this last slide, where when you click the button over here from this other side, that it goes directly to the clearinghouse, and then that clearinghouse has to send it out from there. Ours is all internal. When you click the button to submit a claim there, it's already running through our internal clearinghouse, and the only other place that it's actually going to go to is to the insurance companies to get paid. Well, what does that result in? It results in quicker reimbursements for the doctors and less claims that come back rejected, because again, you're filtering and working all of those claims internally, checking and letting it do everything it needs to do internally inside of there, seeing all of the potential errors that it could happen. All right, so I told you I'd tell you a little bit about the clearinghouse, so let me kind of tell those that may be fairly new to this. Let's talk about what a clearinghouse is. So think of a clearinghouse, it's just a direct portal to the insurance companies. The reason that you have to have that is because each insurance company wants those claims formatted in a certain way. So clearinghouse is all that it is. It just takes all those bulk of claims, it just formats them for Blue Cross Blue Shield, or it formats it for United Healthcare, or it does it for Medicare, or it does it for Medicaid, all of those, and it just puts all that in there. And then once it catches all of that, then it's also going to do some spot checking or some error checking first, and it's going to prompt you to make any corrections before you actually submit to those payers. Now, the difference with ours and one sitting outside of a piece of software, especially a server-based type of software, because a server-based software, you cannot have your own internal clearinghouse. You have to have that attached to some third-party clearinghouse out there. But with ours, whenever you're doing that, you're doing it internally. So if the clearinghouse catches any errors, you can actually see that in real time right there and not have to ship it off, let it do its processing, and then finally get the notification that you may have one or two claims that are hanging out here, again, at this third-party clearinghouse that has some problems. So then you'd have to log into that clearinghouse, fix the problem, and then send it out, okay? You don't have to do that within ours. Remember, we're talking about multiple sign-ons because you have to deal with a third-party clearinghouse over here versus our single sign-on where you can log into the system, you do everything, you fix everything, and then you don't have to jump out of the system to go fix something else. You can make all of your corrections right here in the middle. Then this provides you a unique difference, and that's what you want to know. What separates you from other billing companies? You have to have some differentiator out there in the market as you're going out to market to doctors. So just think about everything that we've talked about so far. You've got a single sign-on piece of software. You also have all internal, everything's internal. You get your own internal clearinghouse, so everything's done internally there. So you got a unique difference. You also have a built-in telehealth platform inside there, so you can do the doctor's e-visits directly from the iClaim system. Then you've got opportunities to do, again, some of the virtual care strategies from all of this. So this is providing you some very unique differences in the marketplace, and that's what you want to be able to do. So what this does for you, it helps you to lower those rejection rates and expedite reimbursements back to the doctor. Okay, a couple of questions have come in. Victor, you asked, does doctor have to subscribe to EMRX? What happens if they have a different EMR system? Great question here. Remember earlier on, I mentioned to you that what happens if a doctor has a completely different system? Well, we kind of start off with telehealth. And so when you're marketing out there, one of the things that you might want to be talking to the doctor about is, again, do you have a virtual care strategy, which is going to obviously include telehealth? If they say yes, great. A lot of doctors won't even know what you're talking about. Well, that'll help you to discover what systems that they're on. Victor, once you get to the understanding of what the doctor's on, eventually what you're going to end up doing is what's called a practice analysis. The practice analysis will give you a full discovery of everything that's going on with that doctor. What you're going to find out, what practice management system that they're using, what EMR that they're using, how much they're spending on that, You're going to find out, hopefully, from them through this discovery, what the rejection rates are. And then you're going to put all of that into a practice analysis report, which is going to spit out a dollar amount of how much more that they could earn. Remember, this is all about their earnings, what their potential earnings are if they went with the iClaim EMRX platform. So even though that the doctor may not have EMRX, we're going to show them how much money that they're leaving on the table by having to go through all of those multiple sign-ons, because a lot of times when you do that, things get falling through the cracks. What we're able to do is see everything. So obviously it's a better machine, it's a better, if you think about it, better mousetrap, if you think about it that way, in terms of making sure that the doctor gets more money. So that's one way that you can be able to do that. Delante is asking, how long does it take to get certified? You get certified once you've gone through the training class, and I'll show that to you here in just a moment. All of our training is online now, so it's all virtual, but it's with a real person, so it's not like you're just going through a video where you have to sit there and going, oh man, when is this video going to be over with? It's going to be just like what we're doing right now. You're going to be engaged with one of our certified trainers, and one of them is Cynthia Anderson. And Cynthia has been with us for about 12 years as well. She and I basically started with ABS about the same time, and she would be the one doing the training for you. And so once you've completed the class that with all the modules that we take you through, then she, through MIRMA, certifies you at the end of that class. So, okay, Victor says, great, thanks for answering that question. All right, so let's talk about real quickly, again, how all of this information is transferred, again, from one doctor, and what is actually being transferred, and then basically what are you doing in the process of actually processing the claim. So let's kind of talk about that. So again, we have the doctor over here on the left-hand side, just got through seeing his patient. In the middle, you're seeing what doctors use this. It's called a super bill. A super bill has the patient's name, their date of birth, their address. A lot of times it has what their primary insurance company is. And then also you can see all of these descriptions and then all of these different codes. So all these codes represent either a diagnosis code or what's called the procedure code. A procedure code is, if you kind of look up at the top left-hand corner, it's got new patient, and it shows up to 20 minutes. It's a 99202. And then underneath there, it's got established patients where it's got up to 10 minutes, and 99212 or 99213 or 99214. Those are what's called procedure codes. So a procedure code is basically, what did the doctor do? Because it's the procedure code that is going to be tied to the money. And I'll show that to you how that works there in the iClaim system. So I'm just using this as an example to kind of show you what the doctor is going to do, whether it's going to be in a paper form or electronic form utilizing iClaim. Once that doctor gets through seeing that patient, that visit, that information is going to go to you. And yes, you're going to still have some doctors that use that piece of paper. So all you're going to do is transcribe from a manual standpoint, put it in the iClaim system. There's a way to be able to do it manually. Or again, if the doctor's using EMRX, all of that's going to come in there automatically as you got there. Delante says thanks, appreciate it. All right, so again, illustrating it virtually. Okay, again, everybody's signed on through one sign-on. We're able to get into everything. We're able to see the doctor's EMR system. We're able to get in the practice management system. We're getting ready to do the billing. The clearinghouse is all involved, so I don't have to re-sign into anything there. So the doctor sees the patient, does everything he needs to do electronically. It filters it way over here, and again, we're going to actually do the billing. So let's do that. So the doctor just got through seeing the patient. We're going to go right up over here where it says billing, and we're going to come over here where it says enter charges. Now, this is where we would do this manually. Let's say that we had a piece of paper, like this, and it had all those codes on it, and we just needed to put in those codes. So we'd sit here and put in the code. So we would put in, first of all, we would look at the patient and then put in the ICD-10, which is the diagnosis codes of the versions of what we are on the diagnosis codes that we're on right now. In this case, it's just a call. So we know that is an R05. So we just put that into there and we put in the diagnosis code. The next thing we're going to do is get over here to, again, area of putting in procedure codes. So you can see right up over at the top, we've got a date of service, from and to. Usually it's always going to be the same day. Again, in the middle, you've got the procedure code. You've got a 99213 and a 95115. And in the system, it tells you exactly what it is. This is an office visit of an outpatient visit. That's an established patient. We get that. And then once we put that in there, as soon as we put that in there, underneath the column where it says fee, it already puts the fee of what's going to be billed. So you got a 95115, which is a shot. That was about $14. You can see right there. It adds everything up. You see the total. The total that's going to the insurance is $128.31. Very, very typical of a doctor's visit. And that's a simple doctor's visit. Underneath here, we can't see it right now, but underneath here, it actually has what's called a denial defender button. So the denial defender button, once you would click on that, it is going to scrub this claim even more thoroughly to make sure that, man, it is checked, it's done its balances, it's making sure it's in the right locations. Everything is going to be right there to be able to do inside of the iClaim system. So once you get through with that, then obviously the next thing you're going to do is scroll down to the very bottom, and you're going to click on that where it says create claim, and folks, you've actually created a claim. Now in real time, to be able to take a piece of paper, put the information in, both the diagnosis code and the procedure codes, it's going to take you maybe about 60 seconds to 90 seconds. So just take less than 2 minutes to be able to process a claim. How many claims can you put in through a day? A doctor normally sees about 25 to 30 patients. So if you think about that, it might take you about an hour to do one doctor per day. Some doctors' loads are going to be a little bit more heavy. If you're working with a specialist, they may not have a lot of volume, but they're going to be a little bit more complicated type of claim. So it might take you a little bit more time to make sure that you got everything where it needs to go, scrubbing the claim, and then doing all your checks and balances, and let it go through the clearinghouse and see if there's any potential errors that might come up through there. If not, again, it gets sent to the insurance company. And again, all that information comes back from the insurance company right back into iClaim to let you know when that claim is being processed. Obviously, if there's any errors from the insurance companies, it's going to tell you how to fix that, get that resubmitted. But usually, you're seeing claims being paid within 5 to 7 days after the doctor has given that information to you to actually process those claims. Again, our web-based system has all these different awards. It's got everything it needs. If you're looking for, does it have e-prescribing? SureScripts is one of the biggest, well, it is, this the only one out there that kind of keeps up with everything where for e-prescribing, and that's part of our services. It's gotten through all of the awards and even more since then. So really, folks, what I want to do is think about separating yourself from others, what you need to do to go out there and do something differently. If you're just a regular cookie cutter type of medical billing company, and you're going out there to market to doctors with just the same thing that anybody else has, then you're going to just get lost in the shuffle. So what you want to have are several different types of services. Now, we haven't even gone into the other services. So we know we have iClaim, we have EMRX. Those are the two main parts of the medical billing part of it. Then we have CodeWrite, and we have Audit Guard that has to do everything with all the medical codes. So we've got you all covered there. Then whenever it comes to AR, so if it's AR chasing down money, you've got let's see, a couple of the other services out there that you need for processing and going after money through the system here at ABS. Then we've got, again, like I said, the telehealth. We've got other marketing campaigns that are going to go out. We didn't even talk about the book that you can have. We're going to be talking about that here. Again, here's a picture of the telehealth that's built inside. You see, it looks just like what we were looking at over there. So the telehealth is all inside of there. Again, the doctor's going through that. So again, you want to make sure that your system includes, again, the latest technology. Plus, you get a lifetime of support. We have support that runs from 7 a.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Pacific. So wherever you are in the country, you should be covered whenever it comes down to support. Again, all of these people that we're talking about right here that I showed you earlier, from coast to coast are using this type of platform to get and gain their doctors out there. Now, for your support, we have a complete support site just for you that obviously is open 24/7, 365 days a year for you to go out to. It has everything you need underneath what's called the licensee support site. Now, if you try to go out there today, you can get to it. It's going to log in. If you're not a licensee, you're not going to be able to get into it. However, if you'll get back with your business development rep that you're working with here at ABS, tell them to say, hey, let's do a go-to meeting. I want to see some of what's involved in the licensee support site. They'll be happy to take you through that. Now, while you're doing that, you might as well go through a demonstration of the iClaim software. So if you haven't seen a demonstration of the software yet, then you really need to look at that. That's like test driving a car. So you really need to spend some time with the person that you're working with here at ABS. Get them and say, look, I want to really see how this single sign-on thing works. I want to see how it works with the iClaim system, how it works with the EMRX system, how does it go through all of it needs to go through. You really want to be able to see that system. It's very, very impressive. If you're not currently following us on Facebook, we absolutely want you to do that, so go check us out. But we also have one that is just for licensees only. It's a private group. Again, unless you're a licensee, you're not going to be able to get in this area. But here's where tons of information is passed from between one licensee to another, whether they're having to deal with a cardiologist or whether they're dealing with a podiatry, and there's questions that need to be asked for credentialing or whatever else is out there. All of that is out there in that private Facebook area that you obviously are going to want to be a part of. Now, one thing that I don't know if we've got mentioned in here in the webinar today, but usually about every Friday, we have a licensee only webinar. So again, we want to go further for you than just offering you a training course, offering you marketing material, as you can see here, offering you the solutions, the software. Patrick Phillips has, as long as I've known Patrick, and one of the great things about Patrick is he wants to make sure that any licensee that comes on board with American Business Systems has every tool, every piece of education that they can actually get. There's no ongoing cost for these webinars that we do on Fridays to either teach you more information, show you how to do marketing. We just went through several training classes and some webinars on how to do marketing in this COVID world, how to do this type of marketing out there. So that's all included in your cost here at American Business Systems.